ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome on this Tuesday, October 28th, 3 days away from Halloween. One of my favorite holidays, of course, to spook all the little kids to come trick or treating. But it's crazy. We are 3 days away from Halloween. So, welcome, Showtime Sarah. Welcome, Scooter. How are you two doing on this fine Tuesday?
It's cold and wet here, which is weird because I'm used to kind of like the 70-degree Halloweens that we kind of have down here. So having an actually cold Halloween is hitting a little different.
Is it supposed to be cold on Halloween or just
Ooh,
leading up to it?
I haven't looked, but I'm pretty sure like the highs in the 60s, which I know that sounds crazy, but that's cold to us. So
Well, that is true. That is cold to you. I admit that. Here, that still would be welcome. So, Scooter, how you doing?
Good, good. Yeah, I mean, our weather's like 50 degrees and it's very overcast. I think it's going to rain soon. So fun.
it started
Yeah.
raining last night. It's raining all day today. It's raining all day tomorrow, and it finally clears up on Thursday, which on Halloween it'll be a high of 65 but a low of 39. So you have to dress for
Oh,
three seasons
Right?
in that day.
Yeah.
man, you'll be in
Back and forth.
parkas
Who
and
knows?
in North Carolina. You guys will be in. That's like parka weather there. So. Oh boy. All right. So enough weather talk for now. We'll save that, I guess. So, but anyway, let's get started. We got a lot to get to. And of course, the great thing with World Series means we get a lot of entries into Jose Can You Sing? And then you throw in the fact that Toronto's in it, which means we get two anthems for the price of one. Also did
Mhm.
have the NBA opening game. NBC actually showed an anthem. So that was kind of nice to see. So we have a total of 7 new entries, ladies and gentlemen. So 3 were from the World Series and 1 from that first NBA game. So let's get started in it. I'm going to start with the basketball one because he was really good. I'm a big fan of whenever you get an Army vet type, and I think it's pronounced Shenard Wilson was the one that did it for OKC, and he's a Navy guy, and I just love it when they do, guy or gal, when it's somebody that's in our armed forces, they just sing it. Like there's none of the runs, there's none of that. They just come out and they sing it, and he did a really good job. So he scored a 46. Just great pace, great tune. He was amazing. So he gets a really good score of 46. Then we get into the World Series. I'm going to start with yesterday's game because Brad Paisley did the U.S. anthem, and if we would have known that Brad Paisley was doing the U.S. anthem, we could have, anyone that's a betting person could have put money on the game going extra innings because Brad Paisley has this thing where he has done now 4 anthems in L.A. and all 4 games have gone extra innings, 2 of which have went to 18 innings because for those that may have stayed up, and we'll get into the World Series later on, Game 3 last night went 18 innings. So we can bring Brad for that, I guess, because if he's doing the national anthem for the World Series, you just might as well bet on the over as far as if the game's going 9 innings or not, right?
Yep.
He's just crazy, but he did okay. It wasn't my favorite. I mean, Brad's getting up there in age. He did okay. He scored a 39. The average score is 40. He was
Not,
right around there.
yeah, not
Uh,
there at age. What is he, like 40?
no, I think he's getting near 50 now. He's been around for a while. He's
Come
like
on.
my age,
I mean, 50 is like the new 20.
Let's see. Well, that's true. It is. So, but he's been around the country music scene forever. But so he was just good. I mean, it wasn't great. It didn't wow me. It was fine. So he got a 39. Then I don't know who this guy was that did the Canadian yesterday. But it is the second worst score since we've been doing this. He got a 23. He got words wrong to "O Canada." The pitch was okay, but it was like just that he was doing these weird runs in the middle of it and then would stop for a couple seconds. Yeah, I gave him a 0 in the last one, which is excitability because he just was not exciting to me. And anytime if you miss words, that is an automatic reason to get a bad score. So that's why he got that. So give me 1 second here. I hit the wrong button there. There we go. That's what I want to see. Yeah. So yeah, at style he got the 0 for because he just was terrible, just awful. So when you miss words, you get a 0 for style points. So those are some of the worst ones. Game 2 for the World Series. Alyssa Cara did the Canadian one. She was really strong. I really liked her. She got a 45. BB Rexa did it for the U.S. and she was fine. A good solid 42. Nothing wrong with a good 42. But I want to get into the game one anthems because Pharrell Williams led the Voices of Fire chorus, and they were just that. They were fire. Two of the best anthems I've heard. You know, it starts off with the U.S. because they're in Canada, of course, and I was wowed by the U.S. anthem. And just, you know, you get the combination of the crowd kind of cheering as they start the old Canada, and then you get them doing the vocals that they did. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have our second 50 since I've been doing this, not counting Super Bowls. Super Bowls are their own category, which there's only 150 ever on the Super Bowl, which was Whitney. We've had, you know, a couple other good ones, but as far as since we started doing this whole bit on my show, this is the second 50 that was given out. So I'll show the new top 10, but any thoughts on any of the anthems from you two from the weekend that was?
Who's going first? Oh, I'm going first? Okay.
Yeah, you're
it goes down. It goes down, so I go last.
Surprisingly, I know all of these people except for Wilson. Dad, you know who Pharrell Williams is, right? He sounds familiar. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because like that's Despicable Me. Like he basically makes music for a majority of the franchise. I was gonna ask why you rated JP Sachs that low, because he's a good singer, but I get it now. I mean, messing up the words is definitely something.
Yeah, if he is a good singer, he can't sing the anthem well because it did not work for me at all.
Yeah. Because like he's dating Julia Michaels, so that's the connection I have. They have like a whole song together. Brad Paisley's funny. BB Rexa, I haven't heard her name in Alicia Carr. I haven't heard their names in forever. It's good to know they did anthems. I'm pretty sure they're all because Alicia and JP are both Canadian, and then BB's American. So yeah, that makes sense.
Scooter, I'm familiar with Irene Cara. But
what a feeling.
Yeah, this isn't Flashdance, so good. I didn't see any of them, but I found the Brad Paisley extra innings and the 18 innings quite interesting. So
it was.
Cool.
So here's our new top 10. So we had a couple that moved into the top 10. So Carnell Johnson, which was from the Vegas Golden Knights, he's a regular. He always does a standout job, and he nailed it during the playoff time. But then you can see Voices of Fire right there with them with 2 entries now. And then the one from the Four Nations final, which was really, really cool. I still love that one. And Robert Carter, who was another of the vet services guys that did the anthem for the NCAA championship game, which was really good. So the new low poll on here is 45 to get to the top 10. So you're gonna have to really bring it to crack the top 10 now. So the average score is a 40.5 is the average score of our 4. We now have 45 entries in Jose. Can you sing? I think 45 or is it 46? No, let me click.
Do I get an entry in for next week since I'm going to a game?
No. It's got the rules are it has to be a major sporting event. It has to be it's got to be like either a playoff game or something like that would be for it to go, and not regular season.
It's Halloween night. That's a major sporting event.
Well, that's true. Major.
Now the one for the Four Nations, the Boston Four Pops.
Yep.
What is, like, I know the Boston Pops, like John Williams in the Boston.
They just called this the Boston Four because there's only 4 of them. So
they are the Boston Pops.
Yes.
Okay. That would be really good classical music.
Yes. So it was they had 4 of them with that lady singing, and she was amazing.
I mean, Boston Pops are legit orchestra.
Yep, you can't go wrong with that. They are good stuff. So, all right, enough of that. We did have some. We'll get into the World Series here too, but we do have a couple of managers that got hired. The first one, this happened actually right after the show ended on last Tuesday. The Angels announced that Kurt Suzuki was going to be their new manager. I'm surprised a little bit by this, not in anything of his abilities to manage. He's been with the team since he retired. He's been a special assistant for them, and it seems like the rule of thumb right now is hire an ex-catcher to be your manager for whatever reason. The Guards did it with Vogt, and Suzuki is an ex-catcher. Albernas, which we'll get into, is also an ex-catcher. But I really thought the Angels were going to go with Pujols because I thought that would have been. I don't know. I think A would have gotten people back interested in the Angels, which I think people have lost their interest in the Angels for quite some time now. I think that would have been a sexier hire, but we'll see. I mean, I think Suzuki's got a chance. You know, he seems like he's been leading down that managerial road where Pujols maybe was kind of a stab in the dark. I think sounds like Pujols has a shot still with the San Diego job, but they haven't finalized that yet. So, any thoughts on Suzuki getting the hire in LA?
Well, I mean, first of all, you brought up catchers. So, I mean, catchers really do make really good managers through the years. I mean, but Jim Leyland, Mike Scioscia, Joe Torre, Joe Girardi, Bruce Bochy, Joe Madden, and Brian Snicker recently also. But so catchers are a thing. Now, Kurt was he was a really good catcher. I mean, he wasn't great like all around, but like he can really call a good game behind the plate. And he, of course, helped the Nationals win the World Series as a catcher. He had a big hit in Game 7. But
yep.
So I think that's a good hire. I know that younger is sometimes better. So go for it.
Agree. And then I really like this move for Baltimore. I know I saw some folks on the X universe and stuff that weren't happy with it because I think they maybe thought Baltimore was going to be able to get a bigger name. But Carl Albernas is the new manager, and he's been the bench coach for here in Cleveland the last couple of years. He's been kind of like the special assistant for Vogt, and he's done a really good job, I think, of bringing people, of forming this team that somehow Cleveland has figured out a way to win back-to-back ALCS championships. And I think he's always been one that has done well with the younger players. And what does Baltimore have? A pretty young roster. So I think this is a good move for them. I think he's going to fit well there. I think those for Baltimore just need to give him some time, and I think they're going to be very happy with what they're bringing in, because I kind of wanted him to stay in Cleveland for another year because I think he was helping with these young players that we have. So I think it's a great hire for Baltimore.
Yeah, I think it is a great hire. I mean, a lot of people don't know who he is. You would know, obviously, Indian fans would know, but most of the general public wouldn't, or even most baseball fans wouldn't. Like, oh, Carl Albernas, it's not one of those names that. But people never heard didn't really know who Tommy Lasorda was either.
Right.
And he became he wasn't like, I don't even think Tommy Lasorda played in Major League Baseball. I think he was a career minor leaguer. No one knew who he was, but he was a good bench coach. He was a good coach. And when you're a good coach, you're going to be a good man. At least you're going to get an opportunity to manage. And you've seen specifically what they've done out in Cleveland. So good on Baltimore. It should be a good hire.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's going to work out really well there. I think we'll see good things for Baltimore. And of course, Sarah probably doesn't remember this, but he also was a career minor leaguer, but he spent a lot of his time with the old Durham Bulls, and so that's where he played a lot of his time, was in Durham.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
there you go.
Little Crash Davis going on.
There you go. All right, so let's get into the craziness as the World Series, because last night's game was just an interesting one. Started off, of course, in Game 1. With LA got off to a 2-0 start, and it's kind of felt like, oh boy, here we go. It's going to be nothing but LA. And then Toronto's bats woke up. Varsho hit a homer to tie it. Then Barger hits the big one that was the grand slam that really blew the game wide open. Ohtani got one late to make it somewhat respectable at 11-4. But that was the Game 1 results, with Toronto winning it 11-4. Then Game 2 was all Mr. Yamamoto, the pitcher for the Dodgers, who went the complete game, 9 innings, only gave up 4 hits, 8 strikeouts, and the rarity of throwing a complete game anymore, which you just don't see, which is good for LA because I don't think their bullpen is that good. Will Smith was the driving force on the offensive side. He had 3 RBIs and a home run. So series is tied up at 1, and we get to LA last night, where of course Brad Paisley sings the national anthem, which meant that everyone was going to have to stay up late. I made it through inning 11. That was as far as I could go, but LA wins it 6-5 in 18 innings. It was won by Freddie Freeman and the home run, and finally in the 18th inning. This one I think kind of hurts for Toronto because, again, all 3 games LA has gotten off to a lead. In this one, Toronto, gets a 3-run homer from Kirk to make it 3-2. LA ties it, and then they were up 4-2. LA ties it, then Toronto gets a run, and then Ohtani hits a home run, his second of the night, to make it 5-5. Toronto had lots of chances to win this game. Probably, they had a guy thrown out. Bichette gets thrown out in the first inning after he left first base on what he thought was ball 4. That should have been ball 4. I don't know why he left the base though, like he did, but either way, he then gets thrown off the base. They get 2 more hits where they would score a run there. I think it was the 10th inning. They had a guy get thrown out at third. That if he doesn't get thrown out, they score the run the next play. So Toronto had lots of chances to win this one, and if you're going to get 5 runs on that LA pitching staff, I kind of feel like it's a game that you have to win. So I feel like that was kind of a lost opportunity for Toronto there last night, and losing that one in 18. But LA is up 2-1 going into tonight. And we'll get into the pitching matchup here in a second. But first, we'll go into any thoughts through the first 3 games. Sarah, we'll start with you.
It's definitely like an interesting pattern. Like the first one, Toronto basically steals the game away. And then the second one's a little bit more closer. LA is able to catch back. And then obviously with this game last night going into 18 innings being hella close. I still think Toronto's in the race though. I mean, obviously 2-1, it's an interesting series lead. They're still playing in LA tonight, right?
Yep, LA's tonight. LA games 4 and 5 are still in LA.
Okay, yeah. So I would say obviously Toronto's got to win either 4 or 5 just to really get their momentum back. Hopefully tonight they win the game because, I mean, going on a 3-1 deficit is not the easiest thing in the world. Would love to see it happen. But so I would say Toronto's definitely got to win tonight to really bring it home, literally.
Scott, what are your thoughts on the first 3 games of the World Series?
Well, I can't even remember how much or how little I watched last night because I was watching Washington and Kansas City, and then that game ended. I was real tired. I went into bed, put on the game, and probably fell right asleep to it. But but I mean, game 1, they had Toronto had 9 runs in the 6th inning alone. That's the most since the 1968 World Series with Tigers and Cards. It was the Tigers that did it in game 6. And they were down 3-1 going into that, and then they won the 2 games, and the Tigers won the. Mickey Lolich was the MVP of that one. Dodger pitching was struggled, and especially in that inning. So obviously, game 2, Yamamoto was just insane. That guy's really good. He's a rookie, isn't it? I mean.
Yeah, he's a rookie, in MLB he's a rookie, but
right. Yeah. I mean, I looked up, I mean, he was amazing in the Japanese leagues. I mean, if you look it up, like he's a 2-time MVP out there. He was really good. And then game 3. So I didn't get to see much of game 3, but I found these things interesting. So Fab Five Freddie Freeman, okay? He's the only player with multiple walk-off homers in World Series history. He had game 1 last year. He hit a grand slam as a walk-off. And Ohtani was insane. That guy's sick. He's probably going to be the MVP, I think, if this continues the way it is. But he was 4 for 4 last night. 2 home runs, 2 RBIs. He's only the second player in World Series history to have 4 extra base hits in one game. The other one, you're probably wondering, Frank Isbell. He had 4 doubles with the 1906 White Sox in World Series Game 5.
There you go.
But I think it's even, and I still think Toronto's going to win in 7.
Yeah, well, tonight's game is going to be interesting because you got Shane Bieber pitching for Toronto, and of course Ohtani's going for LA. And I'll be curious to see, Ohtani did play last night, and granted, he's just the DH, so it's not like he's out on the field for 18 innings. Mm-hmm. But you still, you're coming up to bat, you're involved mentally in the game, and you're at the ballpark for all 18 innings. My gut tells me is that Toronto probably had Bieber leave the ballpark at some point in time so he can go get a normal day's rest routine for his start, where Ohtani isn't going to have that. So I'll be curious to see if Toronto can get to Ohtani at all early in this game, because I think they have to, because if Ohtani gets into a rhythm, then look out. Like he can go 6, 7, 8 innings and then that's bad news, I think, for Toronto. For Bieber, I think it's similar to Scherzer last night. Scherzer was okay, wasn't great, but he got him through 5, kept them in the game. And I think that's what Bieber has to do for Toronto. Just keep them around, keep them in the game, and hope that you can get enough off of Ohtani, who's been really good in these playoffs with a 2.25 ERA and a 2-0 record. So I think if Toronto's going to get one in LA, it kind of feels like it's got to be tonight, because I just think they need that rebound after yesterday. And who knows who's going to have what after sitting there in the ballpark for 18 innings last night. So I think tonight's game is going to be really interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yeah.
All right.
I think Bieber's got to really control that dog. He's got to be lights out tonight for them to have a chance. I think he can be, and I think he actually will be. Ohtani's obviously, I think he's like a robot. Like, he's going to go out there and pitch one heck of a game. So if you're Toronto, you want to keep 1-1, 2-1, maybe you're 2-2 in that range, and hope you can kind of knock Ohtani out in 7th or 8th inning. Which, I don't foresee, like you were saying with his playing last night, such a great game he had. But with he's not going to do Yamamoto. He's not going to do a complete game in this thing. They can't. Maybe he does, but I don't think he does that in this one.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I think if they get 6-7 out of him, they're going to probably be happy with that, especially if they. So I don't know. We'll see. I mean, I think you'll know if Bieber's on with his slider when if his slider is moving pretty well and he's able to control people with that pitch, then that's good news for Toronto. But one game he did not have it, and when he doesn't have that pitch, his fastball becomes very hittable. So, but I hope for him. I'd love to see him do it. So, all right, let's get into some football stuff. We'll go around in college, but we had now look. There are upsets in college football, and then there are upsets, right? And we definitely had an upset on Saturday. The Kent State Golden Flashes won their 3rd game of the year. They were down 21-3 with 6 minutes left in the 3rd. It looked like it was going to be their typical shellacking, like it should have been, because BG is way better than them. But Kent State then somehow scores 3 touchdowns to win the game, 24-21. And the Kent State Golden Flashes are now 3-5 on the year. I'm in shock. I thought for sure we'd be 0-8. Their last 4 games, only one is against a team with a winning record. There's actually a small chance this team could somehow win 6 games this year. And 6 games means you're bowl eligible. I don't know what the hell bowl game would invite Kent State. The Toilet Bowl probably would be the only one I could think of. But I'm in shock. I can't believe they're sitting there at 3 wins now.
Maybe the Blue Bonnet Bowl.
Yeah, some terrible bowl against some team that they'll still lose probably by 30 or 40 points. But if somehow Kent State gets bowl eligible this year, I will be in shock. So we'll see how they do. Like I said, they've at least got some winnable games. They still have Akron, they have Ball State, and then they also have I think it's one of the Michigans that has not done that well either. So we'll see. But now they get their bye, and then they go on to the MAC. Sells their soul to the devil this time of year to have Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday football games on ESPN or CBS. But the bad news for them is nobody shows up. So these games are just dead because who wants to go on campus for a Tuesday game? So it's a shame. I wish that they didn't do that, but we'll see how that part of their schedule goes. So, all right, enough fun. That we did have some other upsets. None of these what I would call major upsets. All 3, Memphis and Houston have been in and out of the top 25 all year. Washington hasn't been in it, but they're a decent school where them knocking off Illinois at home I don't think was a big surprise. So Memphis took out South Florida 34-31 in what was a pretty fun game to watch. Washington crushes Illinois 42-25, and Houston takes out Arizona State 24-16. So those were really the only quote unquote upsets of the weekend. Any one of those 3 or any other upsets caught your eye, Sarah? Oh, she might be frozen.
There she is.
Oh, there she is. Yep, now you're back.
Okay.
Yep.
Not exactly an upset, but I obviously do have to mention it. UNC lost to Virginia in a crazy failed 2-point conversion, I believe it was.
Yep.
That's probably why Virginia is ranked right now, because they're actually doing pretty good. So the pain and agony of Bill Belichick lives on.
I will at least get this for him. They played that. I mean, they went for two, which I like the idea of going for two in that overtime. So had they gotten the two, they would have won it. The last couple of games for UNC have been better. You know, they haven't been getting blown out. They probably could have easily won that game. I mean, I think he got stopped. It was like he was like 4 inches short of the goal line when he got stopped in that 2-point conversion, or else UNC would be up there as the upset. So well, maybe Bill's starting to figure out the college thing. We'll have to see how that goes.
I just look at a loss and think, oh yeah, this is still great.
I
Of
know.
course, I was like kind of hopeful that NC State would pull it off against Pitt. Did not happen. We got murdered. So I can't say much. We're 4-4. So maybe we might be bowl eligible. I don't know where next. I know we have to play Florida State. I don't know if that's next week or the week after that, but it'll be a very interesting remaining of the season.
Yep. Scott, any thoughts on any of the upsets or anything?
Well, I think UVA, they're like 18th ranked in the country. Like
they
71.
Yeah, and I think they're undefeated in the ACC right now too.
Yeah, so they're having a good season.
We might talk about them a little bit later on when we get into our college football predictions. We'll see. All right.
I think all those schools that you just mentioned, I mean, they're all decent. So top 25, some just out of top 25. So.
Exactly. So most of our head-to-heads were, of course, in the SEC because it really was a light week as far as the matchups go on the college football side. Ole Miss finally gets a big road win in the SEC for Lane Kiffin, which I hate to see, being Lane Kiffin used to be a Raider coach, so I always like seeing him struggle. And he's kind of like the Brian Kelly for me is Lane Kiffin. So I'm, we'll get into good old Mr. Kelly here a little bit too. But Ole Miss takes out Oklahoma 34-26. Vandy finally gets a big win too against Mizzou. They go on the road and beat them 17-10. And then of course we have the one. Not that I don't think anyone is necessarily shocked that Texas A&M defeated LSU, but they just manhandled them. They won 49-25, and then immediately after that, not immediately, the next day, LSU fires Brian Kelly. And I love Midnight Rider, and we know and his hatred for Brian Kelly and the family, as he always likes to say it. When I watching that game through his eyes, I was enjoying it, and then when I saw the news that he got fired, I know probably no one is enjoying it more than one Midnight Rider enjoying the fact that Brian Kelly is currently without a job. But let's be honest, somebody's going to hire him again. I don't know where. There's so much that's going to be going on with this college coaching carousel and the guys kind of got into it in their last show last week. We'll have to see where all these guys end up. But what do you got on this, Sarah? Any thoughts on these three games, or specifically the firing of LSU and Brian Kelly?
Honestly, it makes sense that Vandy and Texas A&M did go through with the win. I was kind of thinking Oklahoma would pull it off against Ole Miss. Didn't happen, but oh well. I mean, it's obviously not an upset. Brian Kelly, I mean, you hear the name all the time, but I mean, it's no shocker. I mean, again, LSU is not a bad team. I mean, I think what they've lost to have been other ranked teams, so it's not terrible. I wouldn't say it's obviously as bad as the situation as Penn State might say they're in. So,
right.
Yeah, he won't be without a job for long. I don't know what exactly is available for him to see if he's going to try getting into like another ranked team. But yeah, definitely interesting though.
Scooter, what do you got?
I think I said last week sort of that if LSU loses big, you may see Coach Brian Kelly fired.
I think if we rewound the show, we would see that you did say
it was
that.
something of that effect that I said, because we all knew they were going to lose anyways. So if they lost close, I mean, you're not going to fire the coach. But I think it gets to the point. They could have anyways. But I think it gets to the point where the people didn't like him around him. And I guess the people who make all the decisions at LSU really didn't want to keep him any longer.
Yep. 34-14 in 4 years at LSU, and let's be honest. Look, if somebody came into Kent State and went 34-14, they would be promoted to God of the university, right? But at LSU, that's just not good enough. It's just that's a program that is expecting to maybe at best lose 2 games a year, not lose 4 or 5 games a year. So the writing was on the wall, I think, unfortunately for him, once they started losing again this year. But at 5-3, it's just not good enough at LSU. LSU.
And let's just say that's 14 losses. Imagine if he doesn't get fired until the end of the year.
Right.
I mean, he could lose another 3-4.
Yeah, I think so. I agree with that completely. All right, so what we got this week? We do have some more. So we do have some good matchups this week, and again, these are very highly centralized to the SEC. You got Vandy going to Texas, so can Vandy keep this run going? You got Oklahoma and Tennessee. I don't really see either one of those two teams kind of being in the playoff picture anymore. They're going to have to go on a crazy run and get some help, I think, to probably be in the playoff picture. And then I think a really big game. Watch out for Cincinnati. They just keep rolling right along in the Big 12. There might be a school I mentioned a little bit later on too. They've got a big game at Utah. So since he's getting into an interesting point of their schedule where they're going to be maybe a fun team to watch, I put Penn State and Ohio State on here just because, look, we don't know what Penn State's going to be, at the beginning of the year. This was supposed to be maybe 1 against 2 after Texas and Ohio State. And of course, we all know, with the Penn State just collapsing, I don't know, what does Penn State have to play for in this game? I'm sure they're going to want to try to show something. So can they hang around with Ohio State? And I put Miami and SMU because SMU is one of these teams in the ACC. They're doing really well in the ACC, and this is kind of a must win, I think, for Miami to stay relevant and stay in the conversation for the college playoffs. So it's a big game for Miami that they should win. But if SMU pulled off an upset, that wouldn't necessarily surprise me either. So Sarah, any thoughts on any of these 5 games?
Vandy, Tennessee, Cincy, Ohio State, Miami. I don't think I'm going for any upsets, but no upsets this week from at least that list.
Scooter, anything on these 5 games or any other the top 25 games that you're keeping an eye on?
Yeah, so I think the most meaningful one there is the Vandy Texas game. That's to see if Vandy's really that team. It's gonna be tough going into Texas. It doesn't matter if they're the 20. I mean, they're the 20th ranked team in the country. I mean, that they have one of the Mannings playing for them and stuff like that. So Vandy, this will be tough. And as you were talking about playoffs, we'll see, because if Vandy loses this game, they have 2 losses.
Yep.
That would be trouble. The other games, whatever. No, Penn State, this is my prediction, the Penn State-Ohio State game. This is 100% going to happen. Penn State will be up 10-0, and on Facebook you'll see Matty Ice talk about how they're going to get killed by 50, and then Ohio State's going to win 35-10.
Well,
you can jot that down.
Let's see. Well, there's a chance because they play at noon, and my first game on the ice isn't until 3 o'clock, so I will at least see the beginning of the game. I was looking to see if I was going to be on the ice during the game, because if I'm on the ice, then I wouldn't be able to make those type of comments. But yeah, if Penn State gets up 10-0 on it, there is a chance there could be that type of a comment on my social media. And
then you got to think about how many times that, like, those 12 o'clock games where the team that's obviously the much better team is down by like 14-0 or 10-0 or 7-0.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. And then they just rear back and it's like 72-10.
Yep. All right. So let's get into a little bit of fun. So this is going to be our college playoff prediction part. We're going to predict right now who we have as the 12 teams that make the playoffs. So if I understand it and I try to read it, and I'll be honest with you, the one I'm not quite clear of if I've got it correctly or not, but basically the last year, remember that the 4 teams that won the big top 4 conferences, those were the top 4 seeds. That is gone for this year. It's just basically the top 12 teams. If you win a conference, you are not guaranteed to be a top 4 seed. The way it's supposed to work is that they take the 5 highest ranked conference champions receive automatic bids. And then the other 7 are at large. No conference champion is guaranteed a top 4 spot. Okay, so that's how this is supposed to work this year. So with that being said, we're going to start with our ones, and then we're going to work down to lists, because I think that's where it gets fun. Because let's be honest here, we all have Ohio State 1 right now. There's really no change in that. We're all kind of in agreement that I think Ohio State is the number 1 seed until they lose. They've got, they have Penn State, Purdue, UCLA, Rutgers, and Michigan is who they have left for the regular season. Look, they've lost the last 3 times to Michigan, so I'm not going to say that. I think that is a game that they still got to watch out for. The Penn State game is the other one. They should destroy UCLA, Purdue, and Rutgers, and then they'll have Indiana in the Big Ten championship game, which will be by far the toughest game of these 3. I think they'll win that game, which means that they'll be that number 1 seed, and it seems like you two both agree with that. All right. Any Ohio State thoughts you guys want to throw out there on it, or that pretty much sum it up?
Well, the quarterback, Julian Sayin, he's third ranked to win the Heisman Trophy.
He is right now. And he's got a shot. I think if he does well this year, he could surprise some people. I think he's got a shot to be in, because we all know the Heismans love the quarterbacks. So Scott, we'll start with you. Your number 2 team is Indiana. Why do you have them at 2?
Indiana, I love, this whole season. I've loved them. Kurt Signetti, he's doing great. They're playing at Maryland this week. They should take care of business out there. They got Fernando Mendoza, who's just unbelievable. He's the number 1 Heisman Trophy candidate probability. He just throws touchdowns. He had an amazing game against Michigan State this past week. In fact, they were winning by so much they brought in his brother, who is also the quarterback. And they look exactly alike with different numbers. That's
great. Sarah, you've also got Indiana at your number 2. What do you anything you want to add for why you got them at 2?
Well, see, I was trying to think it over through just by looking at conference wise and then also just standing wise in general. Because I don't pay much attention to the games itself other than just with the scores. So in a real thing, if you talk about standings and the conference wise, you could really almost switch Indiana's in Ohio. But Ohio State is Ohio State. They have not been shy of winning, and Indiana, I feel like it's still one of those underdog situations where they are doing great, don't get me wrong, but you're still kind of waiting to see if they're gonna fall a little bit. So I didn't feel confident putting them number 1, but obviously they're where their standings are and how they're doing in the conference, it makes sense to put them at number 2.
Okay. I didn't put Indiana at 2, not because I don't think they're the second best team. It's just that ultimately Ohio State's going to play Indiana. One of them's going to lose that game. So I think they're going to fall down a little bit because of that loss that they will eventually have. So my number 2 team is Alabama. I have Alabama, I think, winning the SEC. They are currently undefeated in the SEC. They have games against LSU, Oklahoma, then they get Eastern Illinois and Auburn. So, I don't know what they expect, what to expect this week against LSU, or they have a bye week this week, but when they play LSU, same thing with Oklahoma. I think Alabama's going to run the table, and I think they'll beat whoever. I just think Alabama's playing so well right now that unless something changes where they lose some of that mojo, Alabama will be my number 2 seed, because I think if they win out and they win the SEC championship, they're going to be number 2 behind Ohio State with the committee. There's just not doubt in my mind that that's where Alabama would be. All right, so number 3, you've got Alabama. Scott, anything differently than what I already said on Alabama that you want to add in there with them?
No, I think Cream always jumps up to goes to the top. I can't even say it correctly, but Alabama's obviously, I think, the best team in the SEC, and they're showing it right now, led by quarterback Ty Simpson, who is second on the Heisman probability list.
There you go. Now, Sarah, you've got Texas A&M at 3, so you've got them coming. It looks like maybe coming out of the SEC. So why do you have Texas A&M there right now?
Well, I mentioned it last week where I feel they've had a little bit of underdogs. Their competition has not been as great as obviously Ohio and Indiana has played. But they've been playing great, and obviously they keep having these not upsets, but they keep playing against these other ranked teams where other people would probably predict that you would get an upset out of it. But they've been on top. The next competition they play Missouri, so that one will be interesting to see if that does happen. But they also got South Carolina. That's an easy win, although sometimes the Gamecocks do like to be a little on an upset alert. But then they play Samford, which for those that don't know is not a good team. And then obviously you got the little matchup between Texas A&M and Texas. But I feel like those 4 are guaranteed with just how they've been playing recently. The one likely out of an upset I would say is probably Texas, because you got the state rivalry going on. But I think they're easy to maintain the status that they're going on right now. So obviously they should be at number 3.
Okay. I put Indiana at number 3 because I do think their only loss is going to be to Ohio State. And with that, Indiana's got Maryland, Penn State, Wisconsin, and Purdue left. I think Maryland, they go to Maryland this week. This is the one game, if I'm Indiana, if they can get by Maryland, I think they're going to get into the Big Ten championship game undefeated. If they lose, I think they still get in because they beat Oregon, so they'll have the tiebreaker on Oregon. But we'll see. So I think I've got that's why I think I've got Indiana still coming in
Do we
highly
lose
there
him?
because they should win out and be okay. So, can you guys hear me?
Got it now.
Okay.
But
All
you
right.
said some. Yeah, it's fine.
Scooter, you're getting a shout out from somebody there. That
Yeah.
seems like
Thanks, lemon soda.
and they say you kind of look like Ice Spice.
That's right.
There you go.
In fact, they call me Nice Spice back in the day. I mean, I didn't come up with it. So.
I love it. All right, guys. All right, so here we go. So number 4, Scooter, you are up first. Your number 4 team is Georgia, the Bulldogs. What we got going on with Georgia?
I'm a big fan of their dog. I think they're on Uga 6 now.
Yep.
Beautiful pup. Love him. He's always at the games. But no, Georgia's a very good team. So they're going to finish under Alabama. So they're probably going to face Alabama, I would think, in the championship game.
All right. Sarah, who you've got Alabama for?
I've got Alabama. I mean, like you mentioned with their schedule, they got it pretty secured. I don't think it's going to be anything to take over Texas A&M and Indiana. But like you said, I mean, they've got a pretty secured road to the playoffs. So I put them at number 4.
Okay. My number 4 is Texas A&M, and it's just the same reason for Indiana. I think Alabama beats Texas A&M in the conference championship game. Sarah, you already mentioned their schedule. They got Missouri, South Carolina, Stanford, Texas. So I don't see a loss there. So I think it will be Alabama and Texas A&M in the conference championship game because they're gonna hit there. And I think the SEC is the best conference. The Big Ten is still, in my view, the second best. So with that, we're gonna, we'll stick with those for sure. Anthony has, for me, I think Indiana is overrated outside of Oregon. Who the hell they face? Testing in Illinois was overrated from the beginning. Yeah, I agree with you on Illinois. We'll see. I think Indiana will. I think this Maryland test is going to be, not that Maryland is a top 25 team, but they're playing better this year, and it's on the road. So anytime you got to go on the road, we'll see too when we get to the Big Ten championship game. Like if Indiana gets killed, I could see maybe Indiana being less than where they are. But the win at Oregon, it's still a win at Oregon, which is not an easy place to win. So I think you do have to give them some credit for that. And they do have a hell of a quarterback. Like, let's be honest there with that. So Anthony then asks, so you have Miami winning the ACC. We'll get to that, Anthony. Hold tight there. We're not up to that pick yet, so we got to keep you going here. So number 5, Scott, you have Texas A&M.
Texas A&M. They're led by Marcel Reed, the quarterback, who's number 4 on the DraftKings Heisman potential.
On the betting Heisman potential. All right. Yeah, I mean, I can't. Look, I think we got these kind of the same team now. Sarah, you've got Georgia Tech at 5. So does that, to answer Anthony's question, does that mean that you think Georgia Tech is going to win the ACC?
I think Georgia Tech is going to win the ACC. I mean, everything that they've showed is great. I mean, look, as you can tell, I kind of like the underdog stories. That's what I keep going with. But I mean, Georgia Tech, you love to see it. I mean, their upcoming schedule. So it's not next week that NC State plays Florida State. We actually played Georgia Tech. So you can guess that's a guaranteed win because we suck. But then they also have, I just had it literally pulled up. But, oh my gosh. They also have, let's see here. Boston College, guaranteed. Pittsburgh, we just lost to them. So I would assume that Georgia Tech is gonna be a ranking thing, little chain that you have going on. Their last game is against Georgia. So I think obviously that is the one where their undefeated little strides they got going on is probably going to come to an end. But still, that's a 11-1 ranking. I mean, you got to put that at number 5.
Okay, I like that. My number 5 is close. I'm going to with the other conference. I have BYU winning it, and the reason why is because they're undefeated. They have Texas Tech, TCU, and Cincinnati and UCF left, so they do have some tough games coming up. So we're gonna see where they're at on this thing. So we'll get more information out of BYU, but I'm going to say that they're going to win out and win the Big 12 and be undefeated. So with that being said, that's where I've got BYU at number 5, because I think that will get them up there, just because they're going to be an undefeated team at 12-0 and win a Big 12 championship game against a team that I might mention a little bit later on here. So let's see here. I have Ohio State winning the Big Ten at number 1, Texas A&M at number 2, Tech at number 3. Interesting with Tech at 3, Miami at number 4, and Indiana 5. Okay, I mean, that could end up happening. Look, that's the fun of this. We're just predicting right now. We'll see. There's still a lot of football left between all of this here, of course. So, Scooter, you have Oregon at number 6. Why don't you go ahead with that one?
I don't know. They're just a good team. They lost to a good Indiana team at home, and they're a good team. I don't have any problem putting them in at all. They're one of several one-loss teams right now. Well, one of the things I did was I looked at the whole thing as of like today, if the playoffs were to start today, as opposed to in a month or two. But right now I have Oregon. They do have that one loss. So there's 1 losses versus 2 losses with me also. So.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll see. Oregon could still end up getting into the championship game too, because I think they're going to need. Well, I don't know how the tiebreaker would work if somehow Ohio State lost a Big Ten team. That then they could maybe sneak in, but you would think Indiana should have the tiebreaker over Oregon since they beat them. But who knows how that will play out. Sarah, you have BYU at number 6. Anything different there?
No, nothing different from what you said. I mean, obviously, you got to put them a little bit lower than Georgia Tech just because of how the run I see going on. But I mean, I still see them having a good rest of the season, which will be interesting. But
all right, I agree. Okay, so my number 6 is Georgia Tech. I do agree with you. I do think they're going to win the ACC. They've got NC State. They have Boston College, Pitt, and Georgia, just like what you said. Like, other than Georgia, I think Georgia is their one game that they could. But if they lose to Georgia, guess what? That doesn't affect their standings in the ACC because that's a non-conference game, right? So I do think we'll see Georgia Tech and Miami in the ACC showdown, and I think both of those teams are going to still get in. But I think Georgia Tech does win that game as of right now, how it stands. So with that being said, here we've got Anthony's number. I have Bama at number 6 or number 7, BYU 8, Georgia 9, Bama 10, Georgia Tech 10, 11, or no, Georgia Tech 11, Mississippi State 12. All right, I could see all those ones happening. I think you're going to see some of these other teams that we've been talking about here kind of flip flop there too. So, Scott, you've got Georgia Tech at number 7.
Yeah, again, this is based upon today. They don't have any losses right now, so the way I see it right now is they deserve to be up at that point.
Okay, and Sarah, you have Georgia the highest out of us, or no? Scott forgot. Scott put him at 4, so you've got Georgia at 7. I assume anything different? Any different thoughts on Georgia than what Scott talked about when he mentioned them?
No, not really. I mean, I'm gonna try. I didn't have their schedule pulled up 100% here, so I will try to see if I can pull it up. But I mean, Georgia, they're going to be ranked. They're going to find a way into the playoffs. I obviously think wherever you put them doesn't matter because, I mean, again, they will be in the playoffs and they will probably go far. So just compared to kind of like how the other teams have been playing, I would obviously put them just at middle ground, number 7.
Okay. All right. My number 7 is Ole Miss, and this is my team that I think could maybe sneak up a little bit higher. The reason why is they're 7-1. They have South Carolina, the Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State left. So they're sitting there right there where if Texas A&M or Alabama slip up at all, I think Ole Miss then gets into the SEC championship game. If they get into that game, and especially if they can somehow do some damage, I could see Ole Miss going a lot higher than 7. So they're kind of one of my sneaky teams to keep an eye on. And we'll get from there. And Anthony, I see your question here. Would you say Miami has a better resume in terms of wins because Florida was ranked, so is FSU, and so is Notre Dame? I will address it for you when we get to whenever we hit Florida coming up here. Whenever someone puts them in there, we'll hit that one for you. So that is our top 7. And Scott, your 8 is?
It's Ole Miss.
Yep.
Everything you just said.
And Sarah, you have Ole Miss.
Miss.
So there we go. So any different thoughts on Ole Miss than what I just mentioned, Sarah? Are you good with that?
No, I'm good with everything. I mean, put them in the middle.
My number 8 is Vandy. They're 7-1, kind of similar with Ole Miss. I think both of these teams are sitting right there in that 5 to 10 range, where if they can win out, and Vandy's got Texas, Auburn, Kentucky, and Tennessee, so slightly tougher schedule than Ole Miss, because we'll see, like I think like what we talked about with the top 25 from this week, like this is a big. If Vandy can get by Texas, I think they're in a good shape where they could look at winning out. If they lose and they get to 2 losses, then I could even see them falling out of it, to go there. So, we got 8. So that's where I've got Vandy there for now, but I'm kind of hoping and we'll see. Scott, you got BYU at 9.
Yeah, they're a good ball club. They probably do win. I would think that they win the Big 12.
Okay. Anthony did add in, he meant to say that Ole Miss at 12, not Mississippi State. And Anthony, I'll read your other comment on Miami when we get to them here. So, Sarah, you've got Vandy at 9.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just a little flip flop with you. I don't even think their schedule is just like a little bit more difficult. It is really difficult, so it's going to be interesting to see how they do play out about it. That's why I kind of like have them at number 9, because I still kind of see them in like obviously doing super well, but I could see them losing a game or two, just depending on the situation, atmosphere, all that kind of thing. But they are still a super strong team. And again, I love the underdogs. I love when the teams that you expect not to be on here. So obviously I gotta keep riding that boat.
Okay. My number 9 is Georgia. So out of all three of us, they're the lower on my end. I don't know. I've not been. I mean, they're 6-1 right now. They don't really have any like super impressive wins to me yet. And then now they've got Florida, Mississippi State, Texas, Charlotte, and then the game against Georgia Tech. So we'll see with Georgia. I mean, my gut kind of tells me I think they will be sitting there and be able to get to 10-1 when this is all said and done, or 11-1. I mean. Maybe Texas knocks them off. That's really or Georgia Tech, but we'll see. So Georgia's just a team that I think they're going to get in because of their name more than maybe how they feel. Anthony says, I feel Vandy's a little overrated. I like the team, but they're not a playoff team in my honest opinion. They may not. I think the last win, the last couple of wins has helped Vandy for sure. And hey, they're 7-1, and look, I'm not a big SEC fan. I would love to see the SEC suck, but I think looking at it fairly and honestly, by far this year, the SEC is probably number 1 as far as the conference goes. There's just a lot of really, really good teams in the SEC, where I think the ACC, the Big 10, or what I always jokingly call the Big 264, and the Big 12 are all they got some really good teams up top, and then they got just a lot of really, really bad teams after that. So, all right, so number 10, you have Miami. You have the U there, Scott. Why do you have Miami at 10?
I think they're if they do lose another game, it will be to Georgia Tech, and that's fine in the championship, whatever. They're good enough. They're a good team. They should be in the playoffs this year, even with two losses. Because there's going to be teams with 2 losses in the playoffs.
Agree.
For me right now, we'll get to that.
Okay. All right. Now, Sarah, you've got Texas Tech at number 10. So this is our first Texas Tech sighting. Why do you have Texas Tech at 10?
I mean, their schedule, I'm trying to load it up. My freaking thing's slow. But I mean, it's taken them a lot, obviously. I think they're kind of I don't know why I say underrated for a lot of these teams, but like it's just how I feel. I mean, right now they're 13, so I'm only putting them 3 spots higher. But their next time on schedule, they got Kansas State. That's an easy win. And then BYU, that's the only one where I could see them losing one. But then you got UCF and West Virginia after that. That I feel like those are 2 easy wins. So that's still giving you out to what, 11, 10-1, whatever. So obviously it would make sense to put them at Texas, or put them at number 10, because it's still a good standing wise, and they have actually, I can pull it up right here. Texas Tech does have multiple top 25 wins, so you can't ignore that.
Agree. I think Well, my problem with Texas Tech is just the Big 12 is just not good this year. But I'll get into that when I get to one of my other teams here. So my number 10 is Oregon. I almost put them a little bit lower, but I thought I debated between Oregon and Miami. I just went with Oregon for now. They've got Iowa, Minnesota, USC, and Washington left. Not really a tough schedule at all. Yes, their one loss is to Indiana, but again, like the win against Penn State is probably not quite as good looking as it was before. So I don't know. Like Oregon's a team that I could maybe, especially if the SEC teams do what the SEC teams do, I could maybe consider Oregon may not be in my playoff picture. Especially if they lose a second game, they're definitely done. They cannot afford to lose another game, in my view, with Oregon. But we'll see. Like that's the one team I thought really hard about. It's kind of like when you do the basketball ones, they always talk about the 10 seeds are like your last team in, last team out. We'll go from there, but we'll see how that all plays out. Number 11, that's where you have Texas Tech at, Scott.
That's where I have Texas Tech at, and basically just everything Showtime said. I agree with. They have some good. Anthony brought it up too. They have some good top 25 wins, and I think as long as they don't lose a game, that gets them in.
Yeah. And Anthony just answered this question for you. No, they changed that this year. So the top 4 seeds are no longer guaranteed to be the conference championship winners. They're guaranteed a bid. It's a total of, the way I read it is that the top 5 conference winners are an automatic bid, and the other 7 spots are what are the extra bids. But no one is guaranteed a top 4 spot like how they did it last year. So they did fix that, which I kind of like. So all that they're just guaranteed a spot in the top 12, but they are not guaranteed a top 4 spot and that bye week. So so there you have it. Sarah, your number 11 is Cincinnati. I love this pick, but
Nice.
Go into why you got Cincy at number 11.
So, I mean, we were going into it just looking based of how the rankings are right now. But, I mean, going into the schedule, we already talked about them playing Utah. I can really see them winning that game. You also got Arizona. I know Arizona is a strong contender, but, I mean, they're not looking at based off of it. I think Cincy can still pull that off. The only game where I'm concerned about them losing is they do play BYU. Seems like that's a lot of conversations. But so I do see them losing that game, but then you ended off with TCU, which I would think that they could win that one too. So they would still have a good record. And I mean, I feel like having them at 11 is still something comfortable for them. I mean, I was kind of thinking putting them lower at like 12 or even just like an honorary mention, but looking at their schedule now, I can feel a little bit more confident about putting them at 11.
Okay. My number 11 is Miami. They're 6-1. They've got SMU, Syracuse, NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt. I mean, in all honesty, I other than this SMU game, that's the one because they have to go to SMU where I could maybe see them having a small hiccup. They should crush Syracuse. They should crush NC State, Virginia Tech, and Pitt maybe could give them a game that gets them into the ACC championship game against Georgia Tech, which I do have Georgia Tech winning. But I'll be honest with you, and this is kind of where we'll get to, Anthony. It's not anything against Miami's win. I mean, look, yes, they beat Florida State at the point in time when they were ranked, but let's be honest, Florida State is not really that good. I think, unfortunately, the problem for Miami is just, I think of the 4 conferences still this year, I think the ACC is the weakest of the 4. I would put the Big 12 slightly above the slightly above the ACC. To me, it's SEC, a big gap, the Big 10, an even bigger gap, the Big 12, and then the ACC are kind of close by. I just think out of the Power 4 conferences right now this year, they're just too top heavy. There's a couple really good teams in both of them, but the rest of it is just not so good. So unfortunately, I don't think that the wins. I think the conference is what's going to hurt Miami more so than anything. Now, look, they win out, and these teams that I've got like in the 6 through 10 of the SEC, if they all start beating up on each other, Miami's going to be the one that goes up because they're going to have the best chance to win. And I think, so this is all kind of based off the standings as we see right now, but all these teams are going to be playing against each other in SEC. So you're going to see them move up and down. And I think Miami still has a shot to end up getting a top 4 seed. It wouldn't necessarily surprise me if they went out to see that happen. So Anthony put a question to you, Sarah. do you guys think the Big 12 is weak? How about the ACC? So where are your thoughts on the ACC? I just gave mine, obviously, on where I think they are in the Power Four, but do you have any different thoughts on the ACC, Sarah? I mean, I know you follow the ACC probably a little bit more, being with NC State in it, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, I know a lot of the teams that are in the division. I will say, obviously, I think with the expectations, you have a lot of teams that you kind of thought would do good that are doing bad. I mean, obviously on the top you have Georgia Tech, Virginia, Pittsburgh, and then Louisville, and then the middle ground is SMU, Duke, and Miami is also down there too, but that's also just based on how much they won in conference. Um, and then obviously Wake Forest, Cali, and then all the other teams are having a losing record. So Virginia Tech, Clemson, Stanford, NC State, Syracuse, Florida State, Boston College, and North Carolina. I can tell you that I'm sure some people predicted, Clemson to be up there, UNC, Florida State, and I mean Syracuse was ranked earlier, but they've kind of fallen off a little bit. I just think it's kind of, I don't know. I mean, like Dad said, I mean, Miami is a super good team. I actually didn't rank them, so I'm kind of looking at that now. I was like, I feel like I should have, it would maybe be another honorary mention. But just looking based off of it right now, there's nothing really crazy eye-peeling. What is he saying? Hold on.
He's got, how can you blame Miami for how their opponents started playing after that? I just think you have to, well, Florida is trash, but I mean, I think you have to look at the season. Look, the same thing. I'll say the same thing about Penn State. That this game now between Ohio State and Penn State does not help out Ohio State as much as it would have if they were higher up in the standings, right? So it's the same threshold that I hold for all the teams in that case. And the only reason why Ohio State I think gets a bit bigger bias because, in my view anyway, you're the number one team until somebody knocks you off, right? And so until somebody beats Ohio State. And that defense is really damn good. No matter, and I would say the same thing with their Texas win. Their Texas win at the beginning of the season maybe doesn't look as good as you first thought. When they beat Penn State, assuming they beat Penn State, you're going to probably say the same thing about that win. And, but it holds a little bit different water when you're the number one team in the country going, and you're the defending champs. I think when you're defending champs, you get to carry that. That means a little something, especially in today's college football, until somebody knocks you off. Now, if Ohio State loses a game, I'm not going to say they're going to fall out the top 12, but they're going to tumble quite a bit if they lose to any of these regular season games before they would play Indiana. Scott, you have Vandy at 12. Anything different? I know we've already talked about Vandy a little bit. Anything different you want to add for Vandy?
No, but I mean, they have the one loss. It's to Alabama, who I have 3. But you lose another one. Two more losses, Vandy's done. So
yeah, agree. Your number 12, Sarah, was Virginia.
Yeah, so I get just going based off of it as how it is right now. Looking at the competition, they play Cali. A lot of it's actually division or ACC. It's a bunch of conference games. You got Cali, Wake Forest, Duke, and Virginia Tech. The only one I can see them maybe losing to is Wake Forest or Duke. Well, but yeah, Duke most likely though, because Wake Forest is a very interesting team. They're in the middle ground right now. They're not doing bad, but they're not doing great. But I feel like compared to all the other teams, and obviously all the other teams going on in the ACC, it's hard to kind of it's hard to really look at them because there's just so much more better teams going. Did we lose me?
Yep. There you go. You're back. Yep.
Okay, cool. But no, just compared to what else is going on at ACC, I just feel like it's kind of hard to really ignore what's going on. So I'm going to keep Virginia at number 12. I know it's a little risky pick, but I mean, I see them winning the rest of their schedule. So it'll help them conference-wise and obviously standing-wise too.
So my number 12 is because, again, this is the way that I read these rules. And I guess we'll find out because I think after next week's games, the committee finally releases their first top 12. So we'll get clarification on this. And if I'm wrong, then we'll change this. But there has to be of the 5 automatic bids, the 5th one has to be a conference champion. So I looked at the other conferences, and there's not a lot of good conference champions right now. So my number 12 team will be Navy because they are sitting there at 7-0. But they've got 5 really tough games coming up. They've got North Texas, Notre Dame, South Florida, Memphis, and then Army. So North Texas is not an easy game in the American Conference. Notre Dame obviously is going to be a tough one. That's going to be their one. I think that if they beat Notre Dame, then I think you'll see maybe more people talking about Navy. But again, that's only based off of how I'm reading this, that they have to have 5 conference champions. And if that ends up not being the case, I don't think I would put Navy in, but they could end up being in there. So that's why I have Navy in right now. Vic throwing in here, NC State beats Virginia. That eliminates Virginia automatically. Yeah, if NC State beats Virginia, you are correct. That would, I think Virginia is out of the top 12 conversation for sure. So let's talk about our first team out. Scott, your first team out is Notre Dame right now.
Yeah. Because all the teams I have in right now all have either no losses or 1 loss. Now, yep. Notre Dame, I mean, their 2 losses are 2 decent teams, Miami and Texas A&M. But
yep.
As of right now. But so it's some of these teams start faltering. Notre Dame's right in it. They're right there at 13.
The Notre Dame win against USC was definitely big for them. I think that helps them out. I think if they beat Navy, that is another win now that's looking like could help them get in there. But yeah, they need help, which I think, you look at the SEC schedule, they should get help. So yeah, I like that as the first team out. Sarah, your first team out is Navy.
Yeah. I mean, just to kind of like add on what you said, I mean, you obviously still have to have, well, is it somebody in the top 12 to win the 5 divisions? Is that what you said?
Five of the teams. The way I read it is that 5 of the teams have to win their division. So Navy would have to win it probably to get one of these automatic bids. But again, I could be wrong on how I'm reading that. It wasn't the clearest thing in the world how I read it either. So
yeah, I mean, so like in that case, I guess you would say flip Navy and Virginia, and if that did end up being the case, but I mean, Navy does have a somewhat easy competition. Obviously, if they win against Notre Dame, it's a sole done deal. But I think obviously once you enter the playoffs, it's going to be tricky. And I mean, Navy's is also kind of like one of those questionable teams. Like, yeah, they're doing good. They're undefeated and all this going on. But like, I just feel like all these other teams are better. And I think it's just how it's going to be.
Yeah, I agree. The only reason I'd have them in is because if I read this right, they'd have to be in, but that's why they definitely would be my 12. Mm-hmm. My first team out right now is Cincinnati. You hit on their schedule. They've got 3 really big games: Utah, BYU, and TCU. And if Cincinnati can win those games and they get in, at 11-1 going into a Big 12 championship game, because then they'd be in the Big 12 championship game, then I think Cincy can be one of these teams that comes in. Right now, look, I'm SEC set heavy. I've got 5 teams in the SEC in the top 12, and it's killing me. I would love to bring in another team from the ACC or the Big 12 into this. But I just right now I don't see one of them is only if a weird conference has to get a 5th school, that means either the ACC or the Big 12 is likely only going to get 1, because I think this committee has always proven to be SEC heavy. I don't think that's going to change right now. Vic has Virginia's playing much better, though. If they don't lose another, I can honestly see them sneaking in, which, yeah, I could too. Any thoughts on the college stuff before we wrap this up? I know we went a little bit longer on that than I thought, so we'll try to go through some of this other stuff here a little bit quicker. NFL news: the Jets finally get their first win, or the epic Cincinnati Bengal collapse, whichever way you want to look at it. Green Bay takes out Pittsburgh in Aaron Rodgers' first game against Green Bay. This was in Pittsburgh, so it doesn't really count to me. This game kind of hurt me a little bit because I really wanted Chicago to kind of prove that they belonged, and they lost to Baltimore and kind of got killed 30-16. Miami defeats the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde team of Atlanta, who we've always talked about. Houston gets kind of one of the bigger upsets of the week. They took out San Francisco, and then unfortunately for our Commanders fans, last night KC handles Washington pretty easily. It just kind of seems like you're still seeing the same old problems for the Commanders with just not getting off to good starts. I mean, they were at least 7-7 in this one, but and there were some questionable calls that Kansas City just always seems to get to go their way. But those were kind of my bigger takeaways from the week. Sarah, any thoughts on any of these games or anything in the NFL that you want to hit on?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of rooting for Chicago. I can't remember I think they play the Bengals next week. So honestly, hopefully that's the way they can get back on their feet. But I mean, all of these kind of make sense in a way. I mean, Jets getting their first win. I know they lost a former star player of theirs, so seeing them get their first win after that happened is kind of always hits you good on the heartstrings.
Scooter, any thoughts on any of these, or your Commanders in
The
particular?
Bengals gave up 502 yards.
Yeah.
Joe
To the Jets.
Flacco can't help that much when that happens. But Joe Flacco's played really well, so good on them. It's good on the Jets, I should say. They got their win. They had, little trickeration, as they like to call it, happened a few times in that game.
Yep.
Packers look good. I mean, Pittsburgh, they have an offense, so that's nice for Pittsburgh. They can actually throw it around a bit. But Green Bay is looking good. Baltimore, they beat Chicago. Chicago, they just need to gel more. I think there's a lot of talent on that team. Miami and Atlanta, I mean, geez, come on, forget it. Houston, a good team. They did beat San Francisco. It may be San Francisco's probably hoping Brock Purdy's getting back. Not that Mac has played horribly. He hasn't. But and then KC and Washington. Okay, so Kansas City's Kansas City. Let's not forget that. They've been to the Super Bowl like 7 out of the past 9 years, whatever it is.
They're back.
It's not much, but they seem to always be there. So if you're a Washington fan, you shouldn't get too upset. Plus, I mean, when Jaden Daniels plays, that's a different team. And he does matter. So a top 5 quarterback does matter in the league. So if you're going to have Marcus Mariota in there, it's not no Jaden Daniels. So Washington played as well as they could, especially that first half was great. And KC just came out and they did KC stuff.
In our Sideline Junkies fantasy football league, I was 7-0 going into this week, which a lot of people had bye week hell this week. Week 8, there was a lot of teams on bye week. But mine was terrible, and the correspondent was we were neck and neck going into the Monday night game, and Mariota throws that early touchdown pass, and I thought I was toast. He had me by like 10 points. And
it was a great pass and great catch.
It was, but then I had Rashid Rice, and then on that last touchdown, Kansas City gets that junk touchdown to go up 28-7, and then that put me in front I was only beating him by 2 points. So really, all Mariota needed with the way that the scoring is in this league was like 1 10-yard pass, and he would have probably beat me still because Rice wasn't going to get the ball anymore. They were up 28-7. You knew anytime KC was going to get the ball, they weren't throwing it. But then he threw that interception at the end to kind of ice the deal for me. But so I ended up going to 8-0 somehow. I thought for sure I was going to lose because Mariota I thought was going to outscore Rice, and he was looking like that for a while. Then I got the late touchdown, and it was just enough. I ended up winning by 4 points. So thank you, Rashid Rice, and sorry, Commanders, that happened to you. But I think
fantasy wise, the Bye-Mageddon week this week was just. I mean, there's some ridiculous scores. I mean, you go in different leagues that I'm around in. There are multiple. Like I had one team that there were 3 guys that didn't score at all.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, and they played because I had to play them.
Yeah.
And they sucked.
Yeah. I had a few guys that did that in our bigger leagues. So I forgot to mention this, but Indy keeps rolling to the best. The Indianapolis Colts, ladies and gentlemen, are the best team right now in the NFL. It's just kind of fun to say. They're 7-1. I don't think anyone saw that coming. So any other thoughts on the NFL stuff, guys? All right, quick drive to the net segment. We're just going to kind of do what we did before. These, we're now 3 weeks in. Now, obviously, this isn't every team. I just listed some teams that, to me, now that we're 3 weeks in, are still, New Jersey, they lost their first game at Carolina. They've since rolled off 8 in a row. Montreal, who I talked about, 7-3. Pittsburgh just keeps on winning. They're 6-2-1. Utah's 8-2. Then you got the other end of the spectrum. Calgary just cannot get it going. They're 2-7-1. St. Louis, kind of a surprise, 3-4-1. Boston had won 3 in a row, then lost 6. They just won 1 to get to 4-6. And Tampa's still kind of struggling at 3-4-2. Any teams out there, Sarah, that are either good surprises, bad surprises, or indifferent on that either of these ones are a different team?
Pittsburgh definitely surprising. Pittsburgh and Utah definitely surprising me on top. Tampa surprising me on the bottom. Not really sure what's going on there, but I mean, it's too early to have too much concern going on. And again, all of these can kind of move around. I did see something kind of funny saying that Utah has basically been on this roll since they've unveiled their new mascot, which I think is definitely an interesting connection to make. But definitely a little here and there, but I mean, nothing too crazy to point out and be like, oh, well, their season's over. Other than Calgary, I still feel like it's weird that somebody predicted that Calgary was in the playoffs. No,
Jeez, ouch.
I'm just saying.
Scott, any thoughts on any of the teams so far?
So yeah, I think Pittsburgh now they're 7-2 now. I mean, Pittsburgh's good.
Yep.
Some of these teams are good. Utah's really good. They're scoring, their players, which you'll bring up in a moment, I'm sure. Great. Tampa, I'm not worried about at all. So don't get back.
All right, some league leaders. So I did not have this on my bingo card for 3 weeks in, but Nick Schmaltz for Utah is tied with Jack Eichel with 16 points. That was not on my NHL bingo card that Nick Schmaltz would be leading the league in scoring through 3 weeks. So good for him. Macklin Sabrini, the really good young kid for San Jose, is at 15 points. Then Nathan McKinnon and Kirill Kaprizov makes his first debut on this list with 14 points. Mark Sheffley and Jack Hughes for New Jersey, part of the reason why they're 8-1, and Shane Pinto lead the league with 8 goals. Schmaltz has 7, McKinnon has 7. That is our goalie. That's our goals and points leaders. Any thoughts on any of those players or anything?
Well,
Vic adds in real quickly. Pittsburgh definitely the biggest surprise to him, which they are to me too. I did not see Pittsburgh being 6-2-1.
Yeah. I think one of those on scoring wise, rookie wise, which is interesting. With this should be no shock. I think some of us picked Ivan Demidov to be the rookie of the year. So he has 9 points in 10 games. In fact, the other day he had 1 goal and 2 power play assists in the same game to lead them with victory. So he has 3 power play assists already this year. He's going to be a good one.
Agree.
And Montreal is good, as you can see.
Sarah, any thoughts on any of the players that we mentioned or anything else on the point leaders?
No, I will mention, why is there a frozen frenzy with all 32 teams playing right now on a Tuesday?
It's true.
Yeah, not only that, but then ESPN did nothing to advertise the Frozen Frenzy that is tonight. So for those that don't know, what the Frozen Frenzy is all 32 teams are playing. ESPN basically is treating this kind of like what you would see on the Red Zone. They've got a couple guys that are there, and they will break it down. So yeah, so every team is playing tonight. And speaking of that, the Penguins, both these games just kind of started. Penguins and Flyers, Flames and Maple Leafs. No one has scored in either of those 2 games yet.
No, Flames scored in Toronto.
They did? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, shocker. The ESPN app is slow on that. That's just 0-0.
So a good game to watch tonight if you're not watching the World Series and you want to flip off, you can find national television. The Capitals are at the Stars. It's I think it's 8:30 Eastern time for us. But both teams have the first wild card slot in each respective conferences. And we know that Dallas is good. I think I picked Dallas to win the whole thing this year, and I said, don't underestimate the Caps. So the Caps got killed the other night, 7-1.
Yeah, I saw that.
It wasn't Thompson was not the goalie. He didn't play one moment of that game, but they have 3 losses. They have 1 horrible loss, but so I think in their 10 games, if you 9 games, you have one horrible game.
You're fine.
Bad. You're fine.
Yeah, the reason why the Caps are 6-3 is because of one Logan Thompson. He is leading the NHL with a 1.50 goals against average. He's got a .938 save percentage, so that's a big reason why the Caps are doing so well when you got goaltending like that going on. The goalie for Montreal, Jacob Daubé's 177, and he's got a nice .940 save percentage. Dan Vladar and Philly's keeping Philly in it. They're just not scoring a lot for him. He's got a 181. Kind of the surprise is, with New Jersey being 8-1, Jake Allen has come back out of nowhere. You could win the comeback player of the year the way that he's looking right now with a 193, and he's 5-0 for the Devils. So good for him. Spencer Knight finally starting to show that maybe he is the goalie that everyone thought he was going to be in Florida. He's got a 197 for Chicago, and he's got a .937 save percentage. So he's helping Chicago kind of, maybe starting to look like they could finally be not. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year, but not be terrible. And that's a step up for them. And then a guy that we've talked about many times before, Connor Hellebuck at a .928. But look, he's always good for Winnipeg in the regular season. We've talked about this to death. He's got to prove it in the playoffs. So until that happens, Connor is Connor. So Any thoughts on any of those goalies that hit you, Sarah?
No, I mean, it is kind of like shocking seeing some of these names either come back to life or just do better in different location wise. But I will say, obviously we talked about him a couple of times, but Brandon Bissett, he's got the highest high danger save percentage in the league, which I don't even know what kind of stat that really is, but he's got the highest, so.
He did play well in those 3 games for Carolina, but it looks like PK is going to be back, so we'll see if what happens with them. But Scooter, any thoughts on any of these goalies? I know you love Logan Thompson and how well he's doing for the Caps.
Yeah, he's doing great. I don't see him faltering this year. It looks like they found their number one finally. So that's good. Good news on them.
All right. Well, now it's the moment that we've all been waiting for. It is that time. It is, if I can get to the screen, it's Dancing with the Stars update time. So Sarah, take it away.
Okay. This one's gonna be a lot. So last week I have to do my flash. I don't have enough light in here. It's
I'll be right
dark.
back.
But Andy did not get eliminated. I can't really explain it to you other than just pure shock. This is the first time I actually had watched it live, so I think it just kind of added to it. Who did get eliminated was Scott Hoying, which now that he got eliminated, I can see it. The guy just wasn't improving, and the difference between Andy, yeah, he's still not doing great, but he is actually improving. And the dance that he did one short day was actually a really great dance, and he just seems so happy. Now to go on to a more aggressive rant, we gave out our first 10s of the season. I'm sure you can guess this category. The first 10 of the season went to Whitney and Mark, as they did a quick step to popular, and of course, Carrie Ananabe gives them a 10. I will say Derek Howe did give them a 9, but Bruno and their guest, John M. Chu, did give them a 10 as well. So I guess I can't be too mad if there were other 10s in the building, but just giving a 10 when it shouldn't have been, it never rubs me the right way. We did get more 10s though, and this one I can actually agree with. Jordan Childs did get, she got 3 10s. So thankfully, at least it's a difference between who deserved the 10s and not. Whitney did not deserve a 10, but Jordan did. So kudos for them. I'm actually kind of conflicted tonight because in 9 minutes is the Canes game, but at 8 o'clock is Dancing with the Stars. It's going to be Halloween night. Now, I have a feeling that Andy Irwin, it is probably his time to go. But see, the difficulty with this is did I say Andy Irwin?
You did.
I did. Blame Vic. He said it in the comments and I saw Irwin. Andy Richter, is probably his time to go, but the thing that's conflicting with this is today is actually Andy Richter's birthday.
So will they eliminate him on his birthday? Is that what you're?
Are they going to eliminate him on his birthday? And now this is compelling a lot of people to just vote for him, because it's his birthday. You're not going to eliminate a guy on his birthday, right? But I mean, the thing is, like, you should have saw his reaction when they figured that they were still saved. Like, I think the man is just genuinely tired and wants to go home in the most respectful way possible, because just like they basically escaped like 3 times already, and it's just like, how many more times is this going to happen? So my prediction is he's either getting eliminated, or if he does stay, which again is a huge miracle, my next guess of elimination would be Jen and Jan, one of the other Secret Lives persons, people, things, or Danielle and Pasha, because it's just kind of going on the lower ranks. Everybody's kind of touched into their 9s, keeping it at a 9, but a lot of these people are still stuck at 8s, which is Jen and then Danielle. I kind of am not a fan of Jan, because last week she was literally asking her pro if she's a good dancer, and she's like, be honest, do you think I'm a bad dancer? what are you doing? Why are we guilt tripping and doing all this? Like, so I don't really like her for trying to be like a pick me, which is a term for Gen Z, but it basically means you're just trying to get attention. But yeah, so I would say Andy's probably going to go, which is fine. I'm okay with it. But if the likely chance has that he stays, because this has happened for 3 freaking weeks now, Jen or Danielle's going. So we will see.
All
We
right.
will see.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. This is what happened to Hilaria Baldwin.
I know, right? Oh, there it is. All right, she's back.
I'm back, but it's Halloween night tonight, so we'll see. We'll see.
Okay. So who do you want to win still? Has that changed at all? Are you still pro Jordan
So
Childs, I think?
most likely to win is probably Robert, but I would still put favoritism towards Jordan. She is actually obviously she got her 10s. Yeah, Robert. Just because of just pure fan base at this point. Robert, Whitney, unfortunately, is probably still a favorite, although some people are trying to conspire to vote her off. Which is great because that's exactly what happened with Hilaria. So, maybe the force is strong with this one. But and then also, oh my god, who is the other one that I actually really like? Elaine Hendricks. I have a feeling her age is going to catch up to her, but she's been performing great. What did she do to Wicked or Defying Gravity? She did something. What'd she do? She did a contemporary to Defying Gravity. It was absolutely beautiful. For some reason, she got freaking 9s, which I don't even want to talk about, but it's fine. It's fine. Everything's
I love
fine.
it. Everything's fine. Just keep
So
swimming.
yeah, those are my
Just keep
favorites,
swimming.
but
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What would be a episode of Drive Time without a Dancing with the Stars update? So, Sarah, good job as always, keeping us entertained with that. So let's get into it. Down the road, next week's show, we will be here again on Tuesdays. I think Tuesday is going to be our landing spot for until the basement's done, because the guy that can help me can do it on Monday nights. So we're probably going to be doing Tuesday nights for the foreseeable future. By next Tuesday, we will have a World Series champion, so we'll be able to discuss that. We'll be a little bit further along with Dancing with the Stars. Will there be any changes to our playoffs teams depending on how the college football season goes? And we do have a big NASCAR race coming up this Sunday. So, Scooter, tell us about that.
It's a championship NASCAR race. There's no more NASCAR until February, by the way, after that. So until the Daytona 500, which is crazy. They put the best race in the beginning of the year. But, we don't make the rules. They've done it forever. But it is all the races get the race in the championship. It's in Phoenix. But there's only four competitors now that can win the championship. And it happens to be from 2 of the best teams, Joe Gibbs Racing's Denny Hamlin, who Denny has won 3 Daytona 500s. He's won like 40 NASCAR races, which is a lot. It's like, just think of golf. But he's never won the NASCAR championship. So this is his chance. He's along with other Joe Gibbs racer, Chase Briscoe, against Rick Hendricks's William Byron, who's my guy. He's Sarah, my guy. We love William Byron. And Kyle Larson, who's a former defending champ, who was a champion before. So it should be a really good race. Phoenix, really, it's all out. But those are the only 4 people that can win.
Pittsburgh just scored. They're up 1-0 on Philadelphia. Another guy we might have to start talking about for Rookie of the Year, kind of surprised, Justin Brazeau gets his 6th goal of the season already for Pittsburgh. Yeah. So that kid's been playing great for them.
That's adding the white.
Ryan Kessler got charged with 4th-degree sexual assault.
Yikes. Well, that's not good. Matt Frost scored for Calgary, his 2nd goal of the year for Calgary, up 1-0 on Toronto, which I always love seeing Toronto lose. So, all right, well, there we go. That's a lot. We did a lot today. We deserve a night off here, I think. So the exit ramp, the Pretenders and Contenders are on Monday night. Coach Polly, great episode last night. The guys on the Tuesday night flight should be coming up probably, let's see, it's 6:30. So sometime around 8:15 is usually when they start the Tuesday night show. I'm sure they'll get their comments on the crazy World Series game. You'll definitely hear their comments about the Commanders' loss to Kansas City, and who knows what other fun and shenanigans. And I'm sure too, Midnight Rider will be talking about one Brian Kelly and his family because it's going to be his first episode since the firing. So, ladies and gentlemen, that could be while you're flipping through watching the other sports tonight. Maybe just have on your phone the Sideline Junkies Network, because I guarantee you there's going to be some good laughs coming up tonight if you can catch that out. In the passenger seat with Gentleman Jack, he's got I saw it on here and I wrote it down and I forgot where I wrote down, but he's got I think the long snapper for Maryland on tomorrow, if I remember correctly. So that's going to be pretty cool interview for sure. So check that out. Then Thursday night, Throwdown, the guys will be back. The Gridiron, the best fictitious football show is on Saturday mornings. The WrestleManiacs, who started this all a long time ago, is on Saturday night, and then Sunday morning we're back with the Sunday Morning Rise. So, ladies and gentlemen, the Sideline Junkies is your place to be. Appreciate all the comments that were in there, Anthony. Good to hear from you again, Vic. Good to hear from you again. And there we have it. Sarah, any last minute thoughts you want to add to this amazing show?
Just to kind of add on how you ended it, players for Jamaica, they are currently being bashed by a Category 5 Hurricane Melissa right now, and obviously having to talk about weather. It's the strongest, or it's actually tied for the strongest Atlantic landfall in over 100 years, I think. So absolutely crazy. If you do know where to donate, Red Cross is a good one. There's also a couple of sites like the I Watch personally. The Y'all Squad, they do a good job of sending members down there for disaster relief. So just do your research on donating if you do feel free, because Jamaica, they're going to need help. I mean, it's going after Cuba next too. So it's going to be really rough. Jamaica and Cuba are not going to look the same. And it's really sad and unfortunate to see. So prayers out to them. And then obviously just know where to donate.
Well said, sir. Scooter, anything?
Today is National First Responders Day. So hug your favorite firefighter and thank them.
Yeah, I agree with both those, Sarah. Yeah, and for anyone, if you've been on social media at all, Google or just put into the search bar these videos of these, the hurricane chasers that go into the eye. The footage of this eye on this hurricane is something I've never seen before. Like, it is just the wall inside that eye is just like, it's like, you think like you're watching a movie on the apocalypse. It's just so stunning. So let's hope everyone that did decide that they could not get off the island can be safe. I'm afraid for casualties in that one for sure. So let's keep that in mind, because like we say, make sure you hug your loved ones, tell them that you love them, because tomorrow is not guaranteed. But hopefully we will all be here on the next episode of Drive Time. So for Showtime Sarah, for Scooter, it is that time, and for Chester, who's come up here to say hi. We say goodbye to everyone and good night, and we will see you all later.